All right, guys, welcome back to Spiritual Bong Water. I'm your host, Cass. I wanted to give you guys an advanced trigger warning. This episode does involve stories that have domestic violence from my marriage. So let's just jump right in. I got married in July of 2022, and the person I married, which I'm not going to mention their name because I do not want a lawsuit. So my husband, was someone I dated when my son, who is 13 now, was, I want to say around 9 months old. So I dated him about 12 years ago. And, I always kind of felt like he was the one that got away. And, when my kid's dad and I broke up and I dated someone after that, but when I broke up with him as well, I stayed single for like a year. And I was really just very not ready to be with anyone after everything I had been through. And I was just at the bar one night, not even really thinking about it. And I saw this guy online that I'm talking about. And I messaged him and I was like, "Why are you still awake?" And he messaged me back and we proceeded to start talking. And then, he's like, "Well, I'm going to come down and visit you," because he was living up, by Sacramento, kind of. He was, out there for his work. And, I was so excited that he responded to me. And he actually ended up coming down to see me the next weekend. And we spent the weekend together, cause my kids were with their dad. It was his week. And then, the weekend after that, he came down to see me again. And we went out with my kids to the mall, to this little jump park that they have. And that weekend, he literally sent me $1,000 when he went to leave. And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "Just to help you." So I was like, damn, that's like one of the nicest things anyone's ever done for me. Like, this is crazy. Like, this dude must really still like me. And, so every weekend he was driving 6 hours or more to come down and visit me. And on, I think like the fourth weekend we went out of town. My dad had bought me tickets, with my stepmom and both my sisters. They all chipped in to get me front row tickets to Halsey. And, I was like, "Hey, do you want to go to this concert with me? Like, the tickets are expensive, but like, it would be cool. Cause otherwise I'm going to go alone." So we got a hotel room, did the concert. It was cool. Now, the next weekend that he came down, we went to breakfast and he asked me to marry him. And I literally started crying because to me, in my mind, I literally had feelings for him all these years. And oh my God, he feels the same, like the excitement, the thrill of being in a new relationship and being treated really well. And that day we went and picked out my ring. And not even a month later, we were in Vegas getting married with my family. His family didn't come. My mom and stepdad didn't come. So it was literally my dad, my stepmom, my sister. My other sister had COVID, unfortunately. My grandma and my brother-in-law, my nephew, and my children. So, everything was great. And then, we came back. We were having our little time together, honeymoon or whatever. Like, he didn't want to actually go anywhere or do anything. I wanted to go to the beach just one day, and that was not an option. But at one point he ended up the job that he was working on with his dad was done, and he had been staying in a trailer with his dad, so we had to go out to San Luis to get his stuff from his dad's trailer. So we go get the stuff and we come back and we go the next day to return the rental car his dad got him, and we're in the place, and he sees two people he knows. And I'm literally standing here while he's talking to them, and he doesn't mention that he just got married. None of that. And it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, because I'm like screaming from the rooftops that we just got married, and he's not even telling people I'm his wife. And I'm like, that's weird. So, I like very calmly approached it when we went outside to walk over to his street bike to leave. I was like, hey, so like, it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit that you're standing here talking to people that you know. And I don't know these two people specifically, but I do know one of their relatives. And you didn't even mention that I was your wife. And he literally snapped at me, got all rude, was super fucking defensive. And it was just weird, right? So that's, red flag number one. Now, he, in one of these incidents where he was driving down here and fell asleep at the wheel and hit, a semi truck and smashed the whole front end of his truck. So his truck is in my garage and he's been working on it a lot and, doesn't really want to do anything else. And one night, I don't know what he did, if he fell asleep. I can't remember exactly. But, that night I found, some drug paraphernalia and I confronted him about it. And he said, oh yeah, I do it every once in a while, sometimes. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, don't make a big deal. Like, this isn't something that we can't get around. Like, he said it sometimes. And that was a straight lie, like a whole lie. And, after that, like, I was looking for something one day and I'm looking around and he had a backpack in the garage. He had left to go somewhere and I'm looking for something and I go in the backpack and there's a bunch of my clothes in there, like my shirts, my underwear and stuff. And I'm like, what the hell? So like, I confront him about that. And he's like, oh, I was just picking up the laundry. And I'm like, okay, that checks out. Like, there's laundry all over the floor. You just stuffed it in a bag and you're going to take it upstairs. Like, cool. And I was like, all right, that's understandable. So, we end up having to move out of this house we're in and we move in with a friend of ours that we both know from growing up. Once again, I'm not mentioning any names, but we're renting 2 rooms from him, right? A room for me and a room for my children. And we literally are staying there and I see like him starting to do these drugs more and more. And I'm trying to, get through to him and be like, hey, like that's, it's not really necessary and you're not really doing anything. And like, the thing is like when we got married, he was a union iron worker and, he literally never went back to work after we got married. He started doing drugs and chilling at home full time. Which is crazy because the whole reason I quit 2 jobs and gave up my business that I took 9 years to build was because he was making $68 an hour and wanted a stay-at-home wife. And I'm like, well, if that's what you want and we're getting married, like I can do that. But that's not what happened at all. So he's over here doing drugs, acting crazy. And, we went out with this friend and this girl he was seeing. And the girl was like being very flirty with me. And when we got back to the house, she was, really drunk and belligerent. And she's like, kiss me. And I'm like, no, dude, first off, like, I'm not into chicks like that. And second off, like, I'm married. So those are 2 reasons why no. But she was drunk and she was pestering me and like, I could not get her to stop. So I literally was like, I'll kiss you on the cheek. And I gave this girl just like a little tiny peck on the cheek. And that was a big issue to him. That was a huge issue to him. And I'm just like, are you serious? Like, I was just trying to get her to stop being drunk and belligerent at me. Like, this is where we live and I'm just trying to have peace and calm. So it doesn't make sense to me why you would get upset about something like that. But if that's the kind of thing that bothers you, I won't do it again. And it's like he would get irritated when I would use the bathroom with other girls or, and it's just like those kind of things are not things that someone should trip on or be jealous of. Okay. And then, fast forward, I think we'd been living there for a couple months and like, I just had this intuition and my best friend from high school will tell anyone and everyone, I literally am never wrong when it comes to my intuition. And I just had a feeling like I should look in his phone, like he was hiding something. And that is when I found a Grindr account. And, I literally, he was out in the garage doing whatever he was doing. He literally wasn't even paying attention. So I go on the phone, I find the Grindr account, I change the login so I can go look at the messages. And like, here we are reading these messages, and the same weekend that we went to a Halsey concert together, he's got these messages with some dude. And I'm just like, are you serious? And so I confronted him about it. I did it very nicely. And he started crying, and he didn't want to talk about it there at that house because he didn't want our friend that we were living with to hear it. And so we get in the car and we go talk, and he's like, well, after my last ex, I was literally just so miserable. I didn't think I would ever want to be with a woman again. And I was just curious, and it was nothing, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, okay, it's weird, but whatever. I'm not going to judge you. Like, that's not my place. I'm just curious as to why you hid this from me instead of being open. Like, I shared all of my shit with you, and you're sitting here intentionally hiding things from me. And it's just kind of off-putting. Like, we're supposed to be married. We're supposed to trust one another. So, like, I'm going to need you to trust me and not hide shit from me. And, that didn't really resonate with him because he continued to hide things. But one night we had a friend over and we were all drinking, and he brought up the thing about the girl kissing me on the cheek. And this was literally the first incident where he put his hands on me. We were arguing, and he said that I cheated on him by kissing this girl on the cheek. And I'm like, that's wild. And he starts being really rude and abrasive. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to leave the situation. I'm going to go inside in our room, and I'm going to sit by myself. And I'm in there for about 5 minutes, and he comes in and left our friend out there, shuts the door and locks it. And I start trying to talk to him, and he instantly becomes very combative and aggressive. And he pinned me down on the bed and bit me in my face. And I just remember thinking, like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I don't understand. Like, this person who is super kind and super, like, the nicest person I've ever been with is being so aggressive right now over something that really isn't even that big of a deal. And, while we were living there, he was still doing drugs. He was starting to sell them. And I'm like literally trying to get him out of doing this, and he refuses. So, I'm trying my best, and we ended up having a situation, with that roommate where we ended up having to move out. So I hit up a friend of mine and asked her if we could please come rent a room from her because, the dude was kicking us out. And she's like, yeah. So it was supposed to be only for a little bit, but that's not what happened because he still never went back to work. Like, we moved in there, and he basically took over her whole garage with all his tools and his bullshit and started smoking meth full time and building mini bikes. And, it was just like really just, I didn't know what to do, And so, like, I'm trying to be patient. I'm trying to, think like he's been through a lot. He has these problems, these things that have happened to him. He told me a lot about the way he grew up, and it was really fucked up. And I'm just like, you know what, dude? I'm not going to be the person that abandons you like everyone else has. I'm going to be the person that sticks it out and helps make your life better. And, I'm not going to give up on you. And, that's the thing is like, when you marry someone, you say for better or worse. And your love is supposed to be unconditional, but even unconditional love has a limit at a point, And so, like, I started having more and more issues because, like, I gained weight. Like, I was super skinny when we got married. And then we thought I was pregnant. And it turned out to be what is called a blighted ovum. Mm-hmm. So literally, it's basically when your body drops a dud egg, an egg with no genetic material inside of it. Well, this genetic material is what makes a baby. And there was none in this egg. So, like, my body thought it was pregnant, but there was no baby. So I was about 14 weeks before the doctor found this out. And I had been like eating like you do in the beginning of a pregnancy. Like I wanted to eat everything, and I gained some weight. And like honestly, after I found that out, I was a little depressed. Like, and I never really lost the weight. And so like I guess my weight was an issue for him, that it made him less attracted to me, which is crazy to me, because if you love a person and they gain a little weight, that shouldn't make you stop wanting them. But whatever, right? So like I'm literally sitting here begging for intimacy, and you know, he's too busy all the time. He literally is out in the garage day and night for days on end. Like I'm talking about like 5 days at a time. And I'm like, babe, come to bed. Babe, like you need to sleep. Like, babe, it's important. And he's just like ignoring me. So then he ended up building a shed in this backyard. Okay. And in this shed, he put a lot of things, but he built like a bed in there and put like a TV and shit. And I'm just like, this is fucking weird. And so like I would wake up alone some nights and I'd go looking for him, and he's in this shed, right? Come to find out, like I found multiple sex toys that were for him. And, you know, I'm like trying to be open-minded, and I'm like, hey, you know, if that's something you're into, why don't we do it together instead of like you hiding it from me? Like, you know what I mean? Like I've always had a really vanilla sex life with everyone before you. So like, I'm willing to try new things. And if I don't like them, or if I, you know, am weirded out by them, like I'll tell you, and then we won't do them, which I think is pretty, you know, open and cool of me. But, you know, maybe not. I have no idea. But so like I find these, and I start finding like his porn searches, which are for tranny porn and like just weird stuff that you would not expect from a cis straight man that is telling you he's in love with you and wants to marry you and did marry you. So, you know, like it was crazy. And then, you know, the more shit I found on his phone, the sneakier he got. He would try and do like secret apps and stuff. And like, I'm honestly not that technologically savvy, so it worked. I couldn't get into these secret hidden folders on his phone and stuff. But, you know, I would go in his Google account and go look at his history in his Google account, and you can see everything in there unless you go manually delete it. And he didn't know that. So I would still find all these weird searches and stuff. And then my clothes started going missing, and I would get stuff and I would like be wearing it, and then it would be gone. And I'm just like, this is really weird. Like really, really weird. And then, you know, I said something to him about it, and he told me that it was like this girl made him do it for her one time and he liked it. And I'm just like, okay, but like, why are you wearing my clothes and stealing my clothes when you could go get shit of your own, dude? Like, you're stealing my clothes and wearing them, and then you wonder why I'm upset. Like, those are mine. Like, this is really weird and trippy. And then, you know, I had this homegirl. We stopped talking for a while, and she came back into my life, and she was coming over, and her husband broke her shoulder. And so she was staying with us. I was helping her and helping her shower and stuff, and he got all weird about that. And it was just, you know, and I'm telling her all these things that are happening, and she is like, wow, because they were friends outside of our friendship. They were friends before I was her friend. He was her friend. It was when we were all younger. So like, she's telling me like that he's a piece of shit and that I deserve better and all of this. And, you know, I'm like, you know what? You're probably right. So she left. She was gone. She went back to her husband, and I was in the garage one night with him and another friend of mine that was friends with my oldest two kids. Their dad passed away. This man was friends with their dad. And, you know, I considered him like family. And he brought up this girl that I didn't like, that had been really rude and disrespectful to me and my relationship with my husband. And my husband started defending her when I said I didn't like her. And I just kind of like got really offended. And That night, he trapped me in the garage. He slapped me, threw me on the ground, smacked me on the pool table. And this dude stood there and watched all of it. I tried to get out by popping the garage door, the big garage door, off the track and sliding it up and sliding out underneath it. And he grabbed the door and slammed it down on top of me and was holding it there, smashing me between the garage door and the floor. And the only reason that I got out of that garage is because my daughter was in the house and heard me in the garage yelling and crying, trying to get out of there, and knocked on the door and told them, let my mom out of that garage right now. So I went inside. They both followed me into my room, would not leave me alone. And it was just, honestly, like, I would have never expected it from that person who watched it happen. I never expected it from a lot of the people I watched it happen from, like, you know, and then, you know, things just escalated and got worse because the more and more time he spent outside and I'm begging for his attention, the more hurt I am, the more I don't understand why he married me if I'm not what he wanted. Because honestly, in this day and age, if you are a man who is attracted to other men, nobody cares. Nobody cares. If that is what you want, nobody cares. Live your life, boo-boo. It's on you. Like, it's not something that anyone is going to care about that freaking much. But, you know, obviously he was ashamed of who he was and he used me to cover it up. And there were several more instances of, you know, physical assault. Right after Christmas in March of last year, I had microdosed some mushroom chocolates. I do this for mental health. It is literally scientifically proven that mushrooms repair connective tissue in the brain that has been damaged by trauma and PTSD. It helps with anxiety. It helps with depression. It helps with a lot of things. So that's what I was doing it for. And my children weren't there. So I was like, cool, today's a good day to do this. And I get a call from my daughter from the mall. She was with her dad and, these two little girls jumped her. So of course I'm in an instant state of panic regardless. And I call the mall. I'm like, don't let those little girls leave. They're like, we can't do anything. So I'm trying to talk to the cops and her dad brings her home and she's crying and I'm checking her out. And honestly, she just had a few little bumps on her head. I give her a big hug. I'm like, it's okay, baby girl. We're going to take care of this. Like, mama's got you. I'm like, you need to go get an ice pack. And he's like, my husband looks at me. He's like, well, why don't you go get it for her? As I'm on the phone, he sees me very stressed out and he literally is like putting me down. And I'm like, well, why don't you do it? Like, you're supposed to be their stepdad. You never spend time with them. You were nice to them in the beginning. And now all of a sudden you never have time to do anything but be in the garage. Like, you don't want to spend time as a family. You don't want to do anything with us. Like, this doesn't make sense. Why do you even want to be here? And he's literally trying to ignore me, running his grinder over something. So I get louder and he rushed across the garage and shoved me so hard that I fell. But when I fell, I grabbed him to try and keep myself from falling. And I brought his weight down with me and I smacked my head on the wall and I fell on a Christmas tree stand. Now this Christmas tree stand has a wrought iron spike in it and it went 2 inches into my right butt cheek. And I didn't even know that at first. I got up and my head hurt and I walked away and I was walking out of the garage. And, you know, I was like, just stay the fuck away from me. Get away from me or I'm going to fucking call the cops on you. And I had my phone in my hand and I was trying to call his dad and I called his dad and I told him what was happening. And as I'm doing this, like my leg felt wet and I'm like, what is that? And I reached down and I felt the blood and I went in and I saw it and it was literally like a serious puncture wound. And he wouldn't take me to the hospital. My car had stopped working at this point. He liked it that way. I had quit all my jobs and I didn't have a car. What better way for a narcissist to control you? So, you know, I'm like, I need you to help me clean this. I need you to help me dress it up. And he's like, only if you stop being mean to me. And I'm like, dude, you literally just physically assaulted me. Like, I'm allowed to be upset and have an attitude. Like, just help me. So I finish my conversation with his dad. I tell him what's going on. I tell him that he's on drugs. And he's like, well, you're on drugs too, because I took the mushrooms. And I'm like, dude, that is not even the same caliber of smoking meth and staying up for 5 days. Like, it is crazy that you are defending him right now. And, you know, but he did. So fast forward to May. It was my birthday. We had some friends over. It was almost my birthday. It was May 6th. My birthday is May 7th. And these friends are over. They're drinking with us. And it's this person's birthday too. We shared a birthday, me and this dude. He's 10 years younger than me, but we were born on the same day. So they're there with us and they're like, all right, well, we're going to go have like, you know, intimate couple time, birthday sex, basically. And I was like, ooh, I want birthday sex too. And I proceeded to all night come out from the room like, hey babe, are you going to come in? Like, I want my birthday sex. Hey babe, are you going to come in? Are you going to come in? Are you going to come in? And when he finally did come in, you know, because I keep waking up alone. Nobody wants to wake up alone. I just fall asleep, wake up. Hey, are we going to have sex? You know, like, so he comes in and he's like, well, I got to shower first. And I catch him in the shower with a toy doing things. And to me, I literally got really upset. Like, I had a little bit of I want to say like a fit. I started crying and I told him I didn't understand why that was more important than me and why that comes first. And, you know, like, it's not that it bothers me that you do that. It bothers me that you do that and not me. Like, literally is what it is. And so, you know, he was very rude about it. And his thing was, you know, like, everything that I ever got upset about, like, I'm a liar. Everything he ever did to me, it never happened. And to me, that's wild to gaslight someone like that and to be that narcissistic that you can sit there and abuse someone the way that he did and look me in my eye and tell me it didn't happen. So he gets out of the shower and we're in the garage and I'm still really upset. Like, I'm still crying and yelling a little bit. And I start, you know, getting really, really upset. And at that point, which, mind you, me and him were the only two people in the house at the time. Everybody else was gone doing stuff. At that point, he literally ended up slapping me. He threw me down on the garage. The garage door was open and he saw this. So he starts frantically trying to close the garage door while he's smacking me on the ground over and over. I got up and ran out of the garage into the middle of the street, and he didn't care at all. And then my birthday party was that coming weekend because my birthday was in the middle of a week. So I had invited friends over just to barbecue and play pool. That day, he literally would not help me clean the house, would not help me get ready for everything. I was literally begging him for help. And when I told him, you know, when I kind of snapped and yelled at him a little bit, he ended up hitting me, like straight socking me in the side of my face where your ear meets your jawbone. And that is the day that he fractured a bone in my face. And, you know, I had people coming over and I didn't want to go to the hospital because then I would have to report him. And he said that if I ever did that, that he would kill me. So I was afraid. So, you know, my friends ended up coming over and, I kind of told like one or two of them what happened, but in my mind, it was the drugs that were making him act this way. And if I could just get him sober, then he would be okay. And that was so wrong. Like, it was wrong. It is just him. So, you know, after that, I started going out a lot, hanging out with my friends a lot, not being home because I was like, you know, if he doesn't want to pay attention to me, I'll just go hang out with people who actually do enjoy my company. And I literally was still trying to work on our relationship, but I just wasn't going to be there being ignored all the time and feel alone. So I went out a bunch. I would stay the night at my homegirl's house because she lived right around the corner. And she's like family to me, her and her brother and her mom. So, you know, And then there were a couple instances between May and July where I literally was hysterical because he would take things away from me, like my phone, and say it was his, that he paid for it, that I couldn't have it. He took my laptop from me, that is mine, that I paid for with my money before I ever married him. He was stealing my clothes, and I would go to wear stuff and be upset that it was gone because those are my clothes that I paid for with money that I worked for. He would say that I owed him money for things, or, he wouldn't let me drive the truck to the store so that I could go grocery shopping. I would wait 9 hours till 30 minutes before the grocery store closed because that's when he was ready to take me, because he's in the garage tweaking out building mini bikes all day. So July comes and it's his birthday, and we went to a store out here, like a sex shop, and I got like a cute little outfit to wear for him. And literally he blew me off again. And then I caught him in his shed later that night watching porn and doing things to himself, and it was a whole big thing. And he ended up socking me in my face the next day, I believe. The next day I told him, it's really upsetting that I bought this outfit for you and I was trying to do something sexy for you and you could have no interest at all. And, we started arguing, and I started taking his stuff and placing it outside of the garage and telling them that if he didn't want to be intimate with me, why did he marry me, and that he needed to leave because I was over it. And at that point, he pinned me against the dryer in the garage, socked me in my eye, and I called a friend of mine to come over and talk to him about it because it's a mutual friend and it's a man that he supposedly has respect for. So, I called this dude to come over and talk to him. And while he was talking to him, I crept into the shed that he had left unlocked for once, and I grabbed a bag. I locked myself in there because he had a lock on the inside of the door too, so that I couldn't come in there. And I grabbed my bag of clothes that he had stolen from me, and he figured out I was in there, came in, ripped the door open, came in, snatched the bag out of my hand so fast that the material's like on a backpack, like on the strap, the part you tighten, that ripped across my fingers and my hands started gushing blood. And at that point, I told my friend that had come over, I'm like, you know what, dude, I don't want to be here. We got to go. And I left to the bar. So after that, I was really not trying to have intimacy. I was not really concerned with it. I was literally leaving my house every day to go see friends or go sit at the bar down the street because I was so unhappy, so miserable. I felt so put down. He literally basically told me at one point when we went to see my family for Christmas, I weighed myself and I was crying because of how much I weighed. And he's like, well, how much did you weigh? And I'm like, I don't want to tell you. And I was like, is that why you don't want to sleep with me? And he was like, well, yeah, that's a big part of it. And you're mean. And it's like, I'm only mean when you sit here and continuously ignore that I'm telling you what you're doing is hurting me and you don't care. So at this point, I'm going out all the time with my friends every night because I'm just so depressed. It's the only thing that keeps me from laying in my bed crying all day, because I would literally, that's the other thing I would do. I would lay in bed for days at a time, just crying and upset because I'm like, what did I do? Like, this person pretended to love me so much in the beginning, and now he literally has no care for my feelings, no compassion. So like one night I went out with my friends. I got dropped off early in the morning because we had all been drinking and I didn't want to come home that night. Got dropped off in the morning. There was this guy there that I know that's friends with him, and he's friends with a lot of my friends. And I went through his phone because it had been left there, and I found out that he was meeting up with this girl, the one that I took care of. We stopped talking. We stopped talking because she would talk all this crap about my husband and the way he treated me. But when I told her, why don't you tell him all the things you tell me? She said, I don't know what you're talking about. So I was like, that is very two-faced. I'm not here for that. So I literally find text messages in his phone of them meeting up for him to sell her drugs. And her tab, which is like, she owes him like over $500, and he's still giving her stuff on the promise of pay. So I'm like, this is weird. And I find messages of them talking shit about me, and so like I call him out on it, and right in front of this dude, he choked me out and took my phone. So I had this dude drop me off at another friend's house. Yeah, it was. And at that point, I was like, I just am so over this, but I have no way out. I have no job. My car's not working, and he refuses to fix it. And, he'll fix everyone else's car and do things for everyone else, but not for me. And at this point, like, so many people around us knew what was going on. Like, so many people saw, like, our friends, the people we lived with, and, nobody said a word. And to me, that is super hurtful too, because if you see him hitting me, grabbing me, being abusive, why would you, as a person who is supposed to care about me, not speak up, not say a word? It's crazy to me. So, I literally kept to the thing of going out and staying gone for a couple days with friends. I would literally stay gone for days at a time, and then I would come back to grab clothes and stuff. And, one of the last times I had gone out with some friends, we were at a bar right down the street from where I lived, and I needed clothes. So I was like, on the way back to the house, can we stop at my house? And it was me, my homegirl, and her friend. And I asked him, because this is what I had started doing, if I take someone in there with me, he can't hit me in front of them, right? That's someone he doesn't really know. He won't do that in front of someone he doesn't really know. So I'm in there yelling at him because while I was at the bar that night, somebody said that he slept with this guy at the bar recently that we were both supposed to be friends with. And I was yelling at him, crying, like, why would you do this to me? And he slapped me so hard that I blacked out. And I caught myself on the edge of a dresser, luckily. And the guy who was standing right there literally just started swinging on him, whooped his ass, and I was trying to separate them, like I was trying to pull them apart. At one point, I grabbed his hair when I was trying to pull him apart, not because I was trying to hurt him, but just because I was trying to get them separated, because they were doing this inside the house where the person I lived with, and they're, I'm like, this is a lot. And so, I literally went to another friend's house. They called 911 because, I was blacking out and couldn't keep balanced. And so this cop comes and talks to me with the ambulance, and he asks me what happened, and I tell him, and he asks my friend what happened, and he tells him, and, and then he starts trying to hit on me, which is absolutely fucking disgusting. And he's like, oh, is that your new boyfriend? And I'm like, no, it's my friend, and he's helping take care of me. And he's like, oh, well, how old are you? And I tell him, and he's just trying to be flirty, and I was like, nah, dog, at this point, I'm for the nunnery. Like, I will never date again. This is too much. And he got offended. Like, visibly offended, okay? So I end up going to the hospital and getting checked out, and they're being really weird to me, and I'm like, this is fucking weird. And they weren't doing anything to help me. They didn't want to check me out. They were trying to wait for the sheriffs, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I already talked to the sheriffs. Like, this doesn't make sense. So since they wouldn't help me, I left. I went and parked in front of my house. I called the watch commander. I told him, I was like, dude, my husband is still here. Like, I don't understand. He's like, oh, don't worry. We're going to send units over there right now. We're going to take care of this. I got out of the car when the unit pulled up, and they grabbed me and handcuffed me and threw me in the back of the car and arrested me. My ex lied and said that me and the guy who beat him up jumped him. They tried to charge me with felony corporal injury on a spouse. I spent 5 days in the substation before I was released. The charges were dropped at the courthouse. Mind you, I got released in pajamas, pajama shorts, and a thermal top. I had no bra. They had to give me jail shoes because I had no shoes. I didn't have a phone. When I got arrested, my phone was in my homegirl's car, and she took it to my other friend's house, and my ex showed up there and said that if they didn't give him the phone, he was going to call the sheriff on them. So they gave him my phone. Luckily, my homegirl had changed the lock code on it because he was trying to go in there and delete everything off my phone because I had screenshots and evidence of all the things that he's done. And after I got released from the courthouse, they told me that I couldn't go back there. And when I finally did go back to that house with people to grab my stuff, he was telling the other people in the garage that if I tried to take my kitten, he was going to kill me and beat the shit out of me. When I ended up actually getting my kitten, that I raised from 2 days old, who had been bottle fed by me, cared for by me, he literally threatened to kill me on video in the living room of this house. I have it still to this day. I also, forgot that before this last incident of him slapping me, he broke my arm, where my elbow and my forearm meet. And that day it was the same thing. I had gone out somewhere and I came back and I had an earache and he came in yelling at me and I was like, dude, stop, please stop. Like, my ear hurts. Like, I think I have an ear infection. Like, please stop yelling at me. Like, my head is throbbing from it. And he didn't care. He kept yelling on purpose just to make it worse because that's the kind of person he is. And, I got up and I tried to walk past him out of the room and he blocked me and he shoved this Pyrex bowl at my like collarbone area and I slapped it out of his hand and he literally slammed me down in the door frame and I felt my bone hit it really hard and instant, just searing pain. And I literally ended up running down the street to a neighbor that day that we've both known since we were children and asked him for help and he wouldn't do anything either. Like, when I left him, I had to go stay at a homegirl's house. My sister sent me money so that I could pay this girl to let me stay at her house. And she ended up kicking me out after not even 2 weeks because someone texted her to her phone telling her to watch her back and she blamed it on me. So then I go to stay with my friend, the one that has the same birthday as me. And, he was doing some untoward stuff, like illegal activities. So I couldn't have my kids there at all. I was sleeping on an air mattress in the living room. And, this fool was in debt and I let him pawn my wedding ring with the promise of getting it back so that he could pay this debt and not get, lit up. He literally never paid me back, never got the ring out. So I lost my $5,000 ring, which was my way. I was going to go sell it so that I could get a place for me and my kids. And he ruined that. So after a couple months of staying in this place, like, I'm hating it here, dude. I'm hating it so bad. And, my man didn't really like me staying there either. I had met someone and we had started talking and started dating and he didn't like me staying there either because there was people in and out of the house all night, right past where I'm sleeping. It made him uncomfortable and it was making me uncomfortable too. So I ended up moving in with my stepdad, who was my mom's husband before she passed away. And, he gave me a place so that I could find a job and get back on my feet. And, I'm really grateful for that because I was in a really bad situation and I had no one that could help me. And he did. And, it's been over a year since I left my husband, but I still haven't got to file for divorce because I was not working at first. And I'm just I recently hit him up on a Text Now app just to ask if he had filed for divorce. And he completely ignored me. So I have no idea. But I just want to stress to people that you cannot risk your life to be with a person who doesn't give two shits about you. You cannot sit there and put someone else's happiness and health before your own. You have to choose you. And if you're in that kind of situation, I hope and pray that you get away from it because getting away from that and starting over is really hard. It's super hard and it's scary, but it's not as scary as wondering if he's going to end up killing you one day. Because that's what would have happened to me. I can tell you right now. It would have. There were so many instances, like even more than I mentioned in this, discussion that I'm having, that I look back on and I wish that I would have left sooner. I really do. And I wish that the person I lived with, who I asked to kick him out multiple times, would have made him leave. That she, as my friend, would have cared about me enough to do that. But instead, she let him continue to stay there after I wasn't allowed there anymore because he assaulted me. So, honestly, people who care about you would not sit there and not say or do anything about someone physically abusing you. And I just want to make it a point to everyone, like, if you are being abused, please ask someone for help. Ask everyone for help, because one of those people will care, and one of those people will help get you out of that situation. And like, honestly, my boyfriend that I'm with now would never hit me. And when I tell him the things that happened to me, I can see in his eyes that he literally is just disgusted with what happened to me. So, guys, it's hard to move on from trauma. Like, I definitely have a little PTSD from this. I definitely get a little anxious or a little, weird sometimes towards my boyfriend, and he knows why. So he understands and he's patient with me. And I just want to point out, like, you can do better than someone that will hurt you. And if you've ever been in that situation, you can heal from it too. You can learn what a real relationship and real communication and real love from another person look like. And no, you won't ever forget what happened to you, but you can move past it, and it's not going to keep you from being what you are meant to be. You literally just have to have the mindset of, I am important. I matter. I can do what I need to do to get away. I want to thank you guys for listening today. I know that, it's kind of hard to listen to stories like this sometimes, and I just really, really hope that if there's anyone out there that needs help in a situation like the one I was in, that you ask for it and you get it. And I also want to say that the fact that I got arrested when I finally did call for help is probably why a lot of women don't call for help. So, as a society, we need to do better when it comes to listening to women about being abused. Because I told this sheriff that he has 2 previous domestic violences. He has an attempted murder charge. He's not allowed to own guns, and he does. And somehow I still ended up in the back of a cop car. So I just really hope that, karma finds him. And I'm so ready to file for this divorce. I literally just have been waiting for my sister to help me with the paperwork, and she's a super busy woman. So I just, I cannot wait to not be tied to such a terrible human. Guys, be careful in relationships. Don't rush in. Don't get married too quickly. Make sure you really know the person. Make sure that you really know that it's what you want, that it's what they want. And always, above everything, take care of yourself and your mental health. Because in the end, that is what's important. Thank you guys for tuning in to Spiritual Bong Water. I hope everybody has a great evening. And until next time.